Hi everybody, Maria here with Landscape Skills. So this demo is going to be a quick tutorial in Rhino, picking up from AutoCAD. So we have an AutoCAD base plan that we're going to open, and we're going to do some building, just some basic techniques to build that Rhino model from a CAD file. So I'm going to just go ahead and go File, Open, CAD file. And I did design it in feet. I'm just going to let it come in automatically and then go through some quick commands to make sure that things are actually at the right scale. So you'll see here that under layers, if this isn't popping up, you can type in layer enter, that all of the exact same layers that I have in my AutoCAD file are actually here as well. And this was just a simple DWG file. In fact, the colors also came through. So in terms of modeling, in the model space, this is what it looked like in AutoCAD. This is what it's going to look like in Rhino. Now, the good news is that it looks the same. The bad news is that if you were anticipating Rhino to be a magic and have it sorted things out for you, that's bad news. So if you kept things organized in AutoCAD, you are in really good shape. So you can orbit around here and see how things are. They're all flat from AutoCAD because they were all designed in plan and there were no elevations attached to the properties in the AutoCAD file. So now what we're going to do is start sorting those out and actually start building some layers. I'm going to just double check quick the scale to make sure we're at the right scale here. So I am going to select everything and I am going to do scale, enter. And then I know that these are each 20 feet apart. So it can be anything that you know the distance of. So pick a point and then the end point of something that you know the distance of, and then type in what the scale is. So I said 20 feet, enter. So now this is going to be to the correct scale. So if you did have a graphic scale brought in with you, then you could just scale from the graphic scale, or if there's some other point on here that you know, that's fine. So I want to have all of my contours actually brought up to the correct elevations. So to do that, you just select the actual contour that you want to move up, and you just say move, enter, V, enter for vertical. Select any point on the line that you want to move up, and then type in how far up you want it to move. So if I want to move it up 1 foot, these are 1 foot contour intervals, for example, in this demo, then you just say move up vertically 1. Then you can hit escape to deselect, select the next one and say move, enter, V, enter, and click a point and do 1, enter. And that'll bring it up to 1 foot. So if you need to bring it up another foot from where that other one is, you say move, enter, V, enter, and then you do up again. Alternatively, if you're counting, rather than doing 1, 1, 1, 1, you can say 1, you can move up vertically 2, then this one would be move, enter, V, enter, and I would say 3 feet. And then for this one, it would be move, enter, V, enter, and that would be 4 feet, and so on and so forth. So enter, V, enter, and then 5 feet, move, enter, V, enter, and say 6 feet, move, enter, V, enter, 7 feet. So now I'll just orbit around and show you what that looks like. So you can start to see how in 3D all of those contours are now at their correct elevation. So you're going to want to go through and do that to your entire design. And then the next piece on a separate layer, so open your layers panel, is going to be making 3D extrusions that are at the correct elevation. So I'm going to call them 3D extruded curves. Okay, so I'm going to double click that to make it the current layer. So anything that I build now while it's the current layer will actually be automatically on this layer. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select this contour and I'm going to say extrude curve, enter, and then I'm just going to bring it down to the level right before it so it would lay flat. And then I'm going to do that all along. So I'm going to say extrude curve and just snap it to the one right below it. Okay, and then I am also going to select the curve and I'm going to make a planar surface out of it. So let me turn on my shaded view so you can see what this is starting to look like. So I'll grab this curve. I'm going to do the same exact command. So planar surf, and that'll be a planar surface. So now you can see this stacking. So you can really see exactly what's happening. So extrude curve, go down, and you can say -1 foot, right? Or you could have snapped it to the one below it, which we have already moved them up and down. So move vertically and pick a point. There we go. Okay. And then you can select the curve and say planar surf. Okay. If any of these planar surfaces aren't working or aren't extruding, it probably means that all of those points weren't actually planar. They weren't actually on that same individual plane. The go around would be to type in patch. It will actually make a surface out of it, even if it's not planar, but that's not going to be as effective later for another modeling technique that we're going to use. In addition, if your curves are giving you trouble, and before using patch, you could also type in close curve. So close CRV for close curve, and that will add a line segment if it needs to. So if there's something that needs to be corrected in there, there's something that's not closed in there, and you type in close curve, it will automatically add a little segment. So if it's not too complex, you won't even notice it. And then you can do extrude curve, enter, and then just bring it down one. Now, if you're having trouble getting that planar surface from the curve, what you can do is select the actual surface and then type in dupe border, enter, but there's no E at the dupe, so DUP, so like duplicate and then border, enter, and notice that it's created a duplicate that is just a border, but it's giving you for that whole shape, so it's giving you the top and the bottom. Now we don't need the bottom, we just need the top one, so you can now select that curve and then you can say planar SRF, so that'll be that planar surface, and then again, so you just work your way through the whole project and you'll have these stair stepping. So if you do that to everything, I already have one pre-prepped for you here. So I've called it 3D planar surfaces over here as well. This is what that model will look like. And then extruded curves. So I have them separated out so that I've got my planar surfaces, that's all of these, and then I have my extruded curves right there. So that's it for the extruded version. Now I'm going to move on to the drape version. So the way that we can make a smoother surface once you have completed all of the extruded curves and the planar surfaces is to go to top plan view. So make that your top, and it's kind of like Aladdin's carpet is like how I like to think about it. You're gonna basically drape over a cloth, and then it's going to be averaging out where, based on all of those surfaces, it would become like where it would fall. Okay, so what I'll do is go to a new layer. So I'm going to call it Drape 001, and zoom out, select everything. Again, this is in plan. I'm going to make this a current layer and type in drape. And now you drag a drape over it. And that is going to create that drape. So now if I go to perspective view, you can see if I turn these other elements off, you can see how it made it kind of more of a smoother surface. So that's drape. Now the different types of drapes and are made with different spacing. So if when you type in drape, let me just show you quickly. So you type in drape, enter. Up here on the top it says spacing, and that said 5. If I wanted to pick a different spacing, you could pick a different number and say enter and then redrop the drape. So I have already pre-made a couple of other ones just so you could see the difference. So that was 5. This one would be 10. And so it just becomes more and more average. So I guess it's less and less accurate, you could say. Whereas this would be 3, for example, this one right here. So you're getting more and more specific or tighter, closer to those contours with that different spacing. So that's really going to be up to you what you're looking for there. So finally, I'd also like to show you now how to split those surfaces, whether they are for that stacked look or for the smoother look. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the stacked look and show you the smoother one. So that would be the drape. So as long as you actually have your outlines, and let me just show you those, I have them as L path. If you have them closed, then it's going to work. If they're not closed, then you have some work to do in either AutoCAD before bringing it in or editing in here. So again, you can select it and you can say close curve just to see if you have any issues. I do not with mine, it looks like, so everything's closed, so we're good. So essentially, we're going to use this to cut this out from the actual surface. so that we can have two different materials from here. So what I'm going to do is right click and say select objects, which is just to select the path. So you can see that's what's yellow, and say extrude curve. And I'm actually going to extrude it way up, and then I'm going to select both pieces. There's a piece on the inside and then there's a piece on the outside. So to get it, I'm just going to orbit around and select everything like this. You might have many more paths. So if you orbit around this way and use your mouse this way, you can grab everything without missing anything. Then you can do move vertical and move it down. You need to make sure that it completely intersects this drape, because the only way that it's able to cut from the drape is if it can definitely be cut from it. So think of those walls, those extrusions, almost like scissors, like they are the thing that's hitting this drape that is being cut. And so if it doesn't have anything to cut, if it's not hitting anything, it's not going to be cutting anything. It's similar in Photoshop, when you go to fill something, it needs an area, it needs to know what to fill. You know, what to cut out, what to fill. It's the same concept. The computer needs to know. So then you can type in split, enter, and you select the object to split, which is the drape. Then you hit enter. Then you orbit around and select the cutting object itself, and you say enter. And then you give it a minute. Depending on how complex it is, it may take a little bit of time. And then you can delete these because those were just being used as the cutting objects. Now you can see here that I have this path all in 3D now. Okay, so it's all working with that drape. Then there are some things that you can do later. We're not going to go over this in this demo, but if you were doing a more advanced model, that you could actually repatch and rework and move around some of these paths, because it's interpolated just the 1 foot contour interval. So we don't actually have, you know, a super refined path, but we do get a sense of how that path is going to be graded through those landforms. Okay, and now we'll just move on to doing that with the stair stepped version. This also applies to that. So I'm going to turn on the contour 1.5. Oh, not the contours. Actually, I'm going to be turning on the planar surfaces and the extruded curves. Okay, so then I'm going to do the same process though. I'll right click on L path. I'll say select objects. It'll just select the objects on that layer. Extrude curve. Then move it up, make sure I have everything selected, then move it vertically just so it intersects. So you can see here, the more contours I have, the thicker it is. Then you can say split, enter, select everything that is not the cutting object. So for me, with this, it's going to be easier to select everything and then hit down Control and hit the path. So that's deselects the path. So I got everything minus the path, then say enter. Now I select those path pieces and then say enter. It's going to be so many pieces, so it's going to be taking a little bit longer. Give it a second. Some of them may fail if it doesn't completely intersect, or if there's some drawing errors, and then we shall see. So it looks like we have bunch of pieces. So we have this one and this one and this one and this one, this one. So you can go through and then select them, and they are all by themselves. So that is fantastic. Yay, it's all split. So the other thing you can do then, just to get it, you know, set up to be rendering later, is actually move it to a different layer. Or if you just want it to be separated out, so you just select it, make a new layer, say 3D path perhaps. If you say right click, you can say change object layer, or you could copy, select that, copy object to layer. So now that will be on this 3D path layer. Okay, so that's how you split your model, and that will be how you can have those differentiated spaces between the different textures on the actual extruded pieces or a drape. So it really doesn't matter if it's a smooth surface. It also works with path or more of a hard kind of more architectonic kind of a thing. It splits as long as it's cut. So thank you very much.